Hello, this is Robert Rodriguez, and you're watching the 10-Minute Film School for Planet Terror. And I wanted to show some of the tricks on the planning and the efficiency that needed to take place, because I had to save a lot of money on this movie, cut a lot of corners, so that there would be money left for Quentin to shoot his half of the movie.
Very nice, man. Very nice. Good job.
One of the main things people want to know is, how did you do the machine gun leg? I did a test early on. I cut my pants off at a certain point, put an ace bandage around it, and then put a green sock over and just went out into my parking lot. We did a test where I put the gun leg on, and it looked really freaky. I thought, this is a great low budget look, where it's not a high-tech leg, it's just a bandage and a gun jammed in it. What I did was I locked my leg in place and just kind of walked around like that, but we would need something sturdier, keep her knee from bending so that the gun wouldn't be flopping around. So we built a cast around her leg, and we kind of changed the method. Sometimes it would be a gray cast, sometimes it would be a green cast, sometimes it would be just a gray sock. Mainly restricted her movements because her gun wouldn't be able to bend at the knee or the ankle. So we'd make something that would hold her knee and her ankle rigid. And that's how we got the gun or the table leg to be able to match up. So what we do is film her with this cast, and then so for a shot like this, we would film the explosion of the truck and then leave the cameras in the same position, bring Rose in using lights to simulate the fire, and then we would just composite it together. So that is actually her rolling away from the fiery truck. It's just done a few minutes apart. Sometimes for a complicated sequence, I would go ahead and do an animatic. Have my guys there, Troublemaker Digital. This is a Chris Olivia special right here. So we could figure out what kind of rigs we would need. For this shot, I wanted to have the real actors come out on the motorcycle, spin around while she fires. It was important to see them do it, not stunt double, so we built a track, which we would later erase, and then have the actors come out full speed, spin them around, and then I would just have her aim her leg. We would get some reference of a real gun firing, so that when we did the CG gun, we could match the look of what a real gun would look like. The other effect people want to know about is the aging effect, which is really just a series of layers of real film print damage, artifacts, dust passes, scratches, and we're using different brightness levels. Another just trickery to keep it looking random so it doesn't feel like you're watching the same effect over and over. That was the main challenge. I would also use the aging for dramatic effects. I mean, if you notice, whenever a scare sequence is coming up or an action sequence, you notice that the film gets more deteriorated. And then once the threat disappears, so miraculously do a lot of the scratches. So it's kind of a visual cue that something's going to happen, is that everything gets more deteriorated. In one instance, the MPAA wanted us to cut down a scene where someone's brains was getting eaten because it was getting munched on for a little bit too long. And I cut it down and added a lot of aging, and it actually made it feel much more violent. Look at this sequence on the road where Ray's firing his gun and they're running over sickos. Clean, it looks fine, but once you add the skipping and the jumping and the deterioration of an old print, it feels twice as fast, twice as violent. It just roughs it up a lot. There's something that happens to old prints where they turn this magenta color. So I thought it'd be nice in this scene where Quentin's character is becoming more threatening, that you would have this wash of red go across him and sort of fade the print out. So subtle effects like that, and not so subtle effects like when the doctors say they had to cut a guy's dick off, they do this chopping motion and add a splice right there. Add a splice anytime that anyone did a chopping motion or a punching motion. Also for the scene where Bruce Willis turns into a creature, as he starts deteriorating, the film goes too. This movie ended up having about 450 special effects. They're kind of invisible effects, ones that you don't really notice right off. For this shot, we made an animatic to show our physical effects guys to figure out how to rig the car to implode. Then once we had the implosion, we strung up a stuntman and threw him into it. And then by compositing the two together, we made it look like he hit. For when Fergie has a hole in her head, we just turned her real head and then put a dummy down that had a missing brain and turned that. And then we lined that up later and blend it as a digital effect. Again, because rather than make the whole out of CG, better to have a real object there, even as a reference. Sometimes, even as a reference, it's better than nothing to have a real object there. As we did here with Bruce Willis, we'd put these sores on his face, just a couple, so it wouldn't take very long. Just so later the effects guys would have a reference of what this looks like on his face in this light, so they could add to it and make it move and have it look like it's really there.
Get a load of that
We
shit.
put on a makeup effects, but couldn't really dig into his arm as deep as we'd want to go, so as an effect, we add the depth and the darkness to make it look like there's a deeper wound there. And sometimes they're just stylized effects. Like, look at how the blood hits the lens over here on the left side of the screen and starts dripping down. I saw this in the edit room and thought it would be fun that as each person gets shot, they splatter the lens a little bit more until it almost covers the lens completely. For this stunt, I wanted to crash out of the window and fall into some trash cans. But it's too high of a jump for her to be able to do that, so I picked my angle, had her do the first jump into a safe pad, set up some scaffolding, have her do a shorter fall into the trash cans, and then I'm going to blend the two together. And to help cover it, I decided to have a car pass by on the switch. Sometimes you're in the edit room and you see something like that. See how this guy just kind of reaches for her way too late, and it kind of ruins the shot. And you look at it and you look at it and you go, God, if only he'd been a little faster and got a little closer to her. So maybe if I just take his head off with a computer, that'll work. Then it'll look funny. So he kind of goes, and then his head pops like a pimple. Sometimes it was adding things like we built a partial helicopter, again as reference, and then the effect would be to finish the helicopter, add propellers, and add a second helicopter. Adding the needle to fly and then having it hit his eye. Again, you already have the needle in his eye, so you have a good reference. You know, we all love that movie, The Thing, and wanted to do a sequence where we got to do some of that puppetry and sleight of hand to make an effect work. So this is actually, okay, you have to look at this close. This is a guy wearing, okay, I'm getting mixed up myself. Okay, the guy in green right there behind the creature has his legs made up to look like the creature, and in front of him is a dummy that the second guy behind him on top is pushing a tube down to make that thing come out of its mouth. So it's two guys and one partial dummy. And then this is a classic sort of thing like a reverse trick where we already had all the tubes and the intestines already laying there, and then we just pulled it all back in and I zoom in on it. So then I play it in reverse and it looks like the camera zooms back as the tubes spread out. This kind of effect, he's standing there and I have him just react, and then he steps aside, we put in the dummy and we blow up the dummy, and then as a compositing effect, we just composite the two together later in the computer. Again, small enhancements, like he fires, we have the explosion go off, but we add the smoke trail to the rocket launcher and to it going under her body. Since I didn't have a big enough green screen to shoot a shot like this, we did it outside because we'd be shooting at night, and when the sun came up, the sky would turn blue, and you'd have this perfect blue sky earlier in the morning that would work as a blue screen, where we could then extract it from the shot easily and put her into the environment. But there's some things you just can't fake. I put in the script, Tulum, Mexico, because I wanted to go shoot these great temples that exist there, right there on the beach. I mean, they're fantastic. I've always wanted to shoot there. So the cast and crew, of course, are all excited that they're going to go out on location finally and, you know, get on a nice beach and party time. Until they come out and see that I've just dumped sand in my parking lot and put a green screen up. And it turns out that I'm the only one going to Mexico to shoot these plates. So that's a big bummer. But hey, man, you got to save money. We animatic this whole end sequence to really plan out the shots, because if you're going to be stringing the actress up on wires and having her roll around on the ground, you want to make sure you're not over covering something. You're only going to shoot what you need. So something that's in between a storyboard and an animatic is a videomatic. I still shoot video rehearsals for the actors sometimes and edit them together to show them how a sequence is going to go.
Oh, what do I know, my love?
Starting to already drop it.
Now let's see how fast your friends work. It's pretty fast.
Early on in the script stage, I recorded the main theme for Grindhouse. And so I wanted to shoot a dance sequence to show what Cherry was like before she loses her leg. So I would shoot a rehearsal on video and figure out all the moves there very quickly. Because with a video camera, you can move very fast and try different things. And then I would edit that together. And then so that way when we get to the set, we're not spending all day shooting. We can just get the shots that we know we need. So anything like that that feels like it's going to be time consuming, I always shoot on video first and edit it. Some things you can't plan for instance, people would say, how could you, kill your own son in the movie? Because my son plays Tony. And I really didn't know if I should kill him, because that was one of the first things I wrote in the script, trying to think of what was the most horrible thing that could happen to me. So I wanted there to be some element of real horror in the movie, because everything else was sort of made up. But I wasn't sure if that idea was going to work in the tone of the movie. So I shot 2 versions. I'd go ahead and shoot another take to show where he is in a scene. I filmed him with the babysitters. I filmed him hiding behind a seat. I filmed him hiding in the barbecue restaurant. I filmed him running away with the group across the army base, going into the helicopter with his mother, which actually makes more sense in this version because that's why she would run to another copter, is to make sure her son gets a seat. All the way to the end where he's on the beach with the pets. Well, our 10 minutes are up, but look for my 10-minute cooking school, Texas Barbecue, which will be on the upcoming double disc Grindhouse DVD. Where I'll be giving away true Texas barbecue award-winning recipes.
Damn, that's good.
Till next time, I'm Robert Rodriguez, and keep making shit. Talk to you later.